Dear students, this channel is for practicing PTA modules every day. If you are struggling with PTA reading module, you can purchase a reading course, which may help you to ace your reading score. Contact us on 6367949840, 9588068207.
Students are increasingly finding it necessary to obtain employment in order to subsidize their income during their time in higher education. The extra income helps to pay for necessities to maintain a social life and to buy clothes, and holding a part-time job helps students to gain skills for life after university or college. Using a part-time job to cut down on borrowing is a sound investment, as it reduces the debt that will be waiting to be paid off after graduation. How many hours students are currently working each week during term time is not really certain. Some institutions advise that students should not work more than 10 hours a week, and there are others that set a higher recommend limit of 15 hours a week. There is no doubt that some students exceed even 15 hours a week. Daniel Harris, a scholar of consumption and style, has observed that until photography finally supplanted illustration as the primary means of advertising clothing in the 1950s, glamour adhered less in the face of the drawing, which was by necessity schematic and generalized, than in the sketch's attitude, posture, and gestures, especially in the strangely dainty positions of the hands. Glamour once resided so emphatically in the stance of the model that the faces in the illustrations cannot really be said to have expressions at all, but angles or tilts. The chin raised upwards in a haughty look, the eyes lowered in an attitude of introspection, the head cocked at an inquisitive or coquettish angle, or the profile presented in sharp outline, emanating power, the severity, like an emperor's bust embossed on a Roman coin. Affordable early years education and childcare potentially enables parents, particularly mothers, to be in paid employment. International studies have found that countries with greater enrollment rates in publicly funded or provided childcare also have higher maternal employment rates, although untangling causal relationships is complex. From the point of view of the household, additional income, especially for the less well-off, is itself associated with better outcomes for children, as child poverty has been shown to be a key independent determinant of children's outcomes. From the point of view of the public purse, as mothers enter employment, they are likely to claim fewer benefits and to generate extra revenues through income tax. The fall of smallpox began with the realization that survivors of the disease were immune for the rest of their lives. This led to the practice of variolation, a process of exposing a healthy person to infected material from a person with smallpox in the hopes of producing a mild disease that provided immunity from further infection. The first written account of variolation describes a Buddhist nun practicing around 1022 to 1063 at. By the 1700s, this method of variolation was common practice in China, India, and Turkey. In the late 1700s, European physicians used this and other methods of variolation, but reported devastating results in some cases. Overall, 2% to 3% of people who were variolated died of smallpox, but this practice decreased the total number of smallpox fatalities by tenfold. Sociology is, in very basic terms, the study of human societies. In this respect, it is usually classed as one of the social sciences, along with subjects like psychology, and was established as a subject in the late 18th century, through the work of people like the French writer Auguste Comte. However, the subject has only really gained acceptance as an academic subject in the 20th century through the work of writers such as Emile Durkheim, Max Weber, and Talcott Parsons, names that will be visited throughout this course. One name that you may have heard of, Karl Marx, the founder of modern communism, has probably done more to stimulate people's interest in the subject than anyone else, even though he lived and wrote 1818 to 1884 in a period before sociology became fully established as an academic discipline. Sociology, therefore, has a reasonably long history of development, 150 to 200 years, although in Britain it has only been in the last 30 to 40 years that sociology, as an examined subject in the education system, has achieved a level of importance equivalent to, or above most of the other subjects it is possible to study. Learning is a process by which behavior or knowledge changes as a result of experience. Learning from experience plays a major role in enabling us to do many things that we clearly were not born to do, from the simplest tasks, such as flipping a light switch, to the more complex, such as playing a musical instrument. To many people, the term learning signifies the activities that students do, reading, listening, and taking tests in order to acquire new information. This process, which is known as cognitive learning, is just one type of learning, however. Another way that we learn is by associative learning, which is the focus of this module. You probably associate certain holidays with specific sights, sounds, and smells, or foods with specific flavors and textures. We are not the only species with this skill. Even the simplest animals, such as the earthworm, can learn by association. Snails are not traditionally known for quick thinking, but new research shows they can make complex decisions using just 2 brain cells, and findings that could help engineers design more efficient robots. Scientists at the University of Sussex attached electrodes to the heads of freshwater snails as they searched for lettuce. They found that just 1 cell was used by the mollusk to tell if it was hungry or not, while another let it know when food was present. Food searching is an example of goal-directed behavior, during which an animal must integrate information about both its external environment and internal state, while using as little energy as possible. Lead researcher Professor George Kemmons said, This will eventually help us design the brains of robots based on the principle of using the fewest possible components necessary to perform complex tasks. What goes on in our brains when we make complex behavioral decisions and carry them out is poorly understood. Our study reveals for the first time how just two neurons can create a mechanism in an animal's brain which drives and optimizes complex decision-making tasks. Symptoms start with a fever over 104 degrees Fahrenheit, chills, headache or body aches within a week. The patient has a dry cough, which might progress to shortness of breath. In 10% to 20% of cases, patients require mechanical ventilation to breathe. About 3.5% die from the disease. Symptoms generally begin in 2 to 7 days, but some reports suggest it might take as long as 10 days. Scientists are close to developing a lab test to diagnose SARS. In the meantime, it is diagnosed by its symptoms. There is no evidence that antibiotics or antiviral medicines help, so doctors can offer only supportive care. Patients with SARS are kept in isolation to reduce the risk of transmission. Scientists aren't sure yet, but some researchers think it's a newly discovered coronavirus, the family of viruses that cause some common colds.